Am I the a-hole for wanting to divorce my husband of 6 years because of his ex? So, I, 34F, have been married to my husband, Mark, 37M, for almost 6 years now. We don't have kids, but we've been trying for the last 2. He's always been a good man to me, responsible, affectionate, and caring in the ways that matter. The issue, though, is his ex-wife, Samantha. To give some backstory, Mark and Samantha were married for about 4 years before me. They divorced because she cheated on him multiple times, and from everything I've heard, even from Mark's family, she was manipulative and toxic. She's remarried now, has a kid with her new husband, and yet, somehow, she's still in our lives. At first, I thought it was just lingering paperwork or some random, unfinished business. But no. Samantha calls my husband constantly. Not daily, but at least a few times a week. And it's never important. It's random stuff like, did you see that show we used to watch? Or, do you remember that recipe we made that one time? I've overheard conversations where she's literally reminiscing about their marriage like it's some cozy memory lane. Mark claims he ignores most of it or just responds politely and hangs up, but I've seen texts. He doesn't shut her down. He entertains it. He's told me before, I don't want to be mean, I'd rather just keep it civil than start drama. Except, it is drama. It's been 6 years. Why is she still acting like she has a front row seat to my husband's life? Why does she know about our fertility struggles? Why is she texting him late at night, even while she's married to someone else? Last month, it hit the breaking point for me. We went to his parents' anniversary dinner, and guess who showed up? Samantha. Apparently, my mother-in-law invited her because she's still like family. I was blindsided, sitting across the table from my husband's ex-wife while his mom chatted with her like nothing ever happened. The cherry on top? Samantha gave a toast about how Mark has always been such a caring and reliable man, and then looked straight at me and said, "You're lucky, don't let him go." Everyone laughed. I sat there frozen, holding back tears. On the drive home, I told Mark I couldn't do this anymore. I'm tired of living in the shadow of a woman who treated him like garbage but somehow still holds a space in his life. He told me I was overreacting and that divorcing him over his crazy ex would be throwing away a good marriage. But I don't feel like it's a good marriage anymore. I feel like it's crowded, like I'm constantly competing with a ghost of his past. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for wanting to divorce my husband because of his inability to set boundaries with his ex? The biggest blow came 2 nights ago. I checked Mark's phone, I know, not proud, but my gut was screaming. She had sent him a message that said, "I miss us sometimes. Do you ever think about how things could have been if I hadn't messed up?" And the worst part? He didn't shut it down. He didn't say, "That's inappropriate," or "I'm married." He just replied, "We can't change the past. Hope you're doing okay." I confronted him. His response? "Why are you snooping?" I didn't say anything wrong. I told him it wasn't about being wrong, it was about allowing that door to stay open. That if she feels comfortable enough to send that kind of message, it's because he's never once put up a wall. We fought until 2 a.m., and at one point I said, "If you want her so badly, why don't you just go back to her?" He swore he doesn't want her, that he loves me, but when I asked him to block her number and tell his family to stop inviting her, he flat out refused. He said it would make things harder than they need to be. I don't know. Maybe I am overreacting. Maybe I'm being insecure. But I feel like I'm living in a marriage where I'm constantly competing with a woman who broke his heart but somehow still has access to it. I've started looking at apartments online. I haven't made a decision yet, but I can't keep feeling like the second wife in my own life. After the fight about his messages with Samantha, things between Mark and me have been tense. We barely spoke for days, just coexisting in the same house. But then came the family barbecue this past weekend, and everything blew up. I didn't even want to go. I told Mark flat out, "If she's going to be there, I'm not coming." He swore up and down that his mom wouldn't invite her this time because she knows how you feel. I believed him. Big mistake. We show up, and guess who's standing there with a glass of wine like she owns the place? Yep, Samantha. Laughing with my mother-in-law, like always. My heart dropped. I pulled Mark aside immediately and said, "We're leaving. Now." He begged me not to make a scene and whispered, "Just try to get along, please." Against my better judgment, I stayed. Well, I should have left. During dinner, Samantha sat across from me, and at one point, she reached over, touched Mark's hand, and said, "You've always been such a rock for me. I don't know what I would have done without you back then." Everyone at the table smiled like it was some sweet memory. I wanted to scream. So I did something I've never done before. I called her out. I said, loud enough for the whole table. Funny how you remember all the good times, but not the part where you cheated on him and destroyed your marriage. Maybe you should thank him for still talking to you at all, instead of acting like you still have some claim on him. Dead silence. Samantha's face went pale. My mother-in-law looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Mark squeezed my leg under the table, but I pulled away. Dinner ended quickly after that. On the way home, Mark exploded. He said I embarrassed him and burned bridges with his family. I told him if his family cared more about keeping his cheating ex around than respecting his wife, then those bridges deserved to burn. That night, I packed a bag and went to stay at my sister's. It's been 4 days now. Mark has been texting me nonstop, alternating between apologizing and guilt-tripping. His last message literally said, "If you divorce me over this, you'll regret throwing away something real over someone who means nothing." But here's the thing, she doesn't mean nothing. Not if she's still in his life like this. Not if his family treats her like a daughter. Not if he refuses to draw boundaries even when I'm begging for them. I've already spoken to a lawyer about what divorce would look like. It feels surreal typing that, but for the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe without Samantha's shadow looming over me. I still love Mark. But I don't know if I can live like this anymore. After I left to stay with my sister, Mark kept reaching out. At first it was constant apologizing, then it turned into guilt-tripping, and eventually into flat-out denial. He kept saying things like, "You're overreacting, and don't let her win by ruining us." But here's the thing, Samantha didn't ruin us. He did. By refusing to set boundaries. By putting everyone else's comfort above mine. By letting his family dictate who gets to stay in his life. Last week, I met him for coffee because he begged for just one chance to talk face to face. I went, hoping maybe he had finally realized how serious I was. Instead, it was more of the same. He told me he wasn't going to cut Samantha off because she's not a threat, she's just part of my past. When I asked why his past was still texting him at midnight and sitting at his family dinners, he had no answer, just silence. Then he said something that sealed it for me. "If you really loved me, you wouldn't make me choose between you and my family." I just sat there for a minute, and then I said, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't make me fight for a place in my own marriage." I filed for divorce the next morning. The process has already started. I've been staying at my sister's, and while it hurts, God, it hurts, it also feels like I've lifted a 200-pound weight off my chest. For the first time in 6 years, I don't feel like I'm competing with someone who doesn't even belong in the picture anymore. His mom texted me once, saying she was sorry I couldn't handle the situation more gracefully. I didn't respond. I don't owe them anything. I've learned that love isn't enough when you're constantly asked to accept disrespect disguised as peacekeeping. I wanted a partner who would stand with me, not one who kept the door open for his ex because it was easier than saying no. So no, Samantha didn't get him back. But she doesn't have to. Because I'm finally done giving space in my life to a marriage that never truly belonged to me. I don't know what the future looks like yet, but for the first time in a long time, it feels like it's mine. If this story kept you hooked, give it a like, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more.